Brent D. Cates says, I am past tired of thugs who resist arrest being cast as victims. Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, all of it. I think the left has launched this war on police. Am I wrong, Bill? No, and to be honest with you, Brent, I covered most of this earlier tonight. There is a narrative. I'll just recap. Democrats need 90% of the black vote to win, and they need black voters to come out in order to win. So that means you have to constantly have them in a state of fear and anxiety, and the idea that if I don't get out and vote tomorrow, then I'm going to be assassinated by police officers, or I'm going to be put in chains, or whatever Joe Biden says. And so it works. It's effective. But even they must know on some level. I mean, even the most virulent Black Lives Matter, well, I bet this is not true, actually. I bet they don't know. Certainly, most people must know that this is a complete inversion of reality. This idea that a black man is not safe to walk down the streets of white America. That's ridiculous. There are many places where a white man is not safe to walk down the streets of black America, and a white woman either. So that's the reality. That's the reality. And that reality has to be denied. And so if you're going to have to get the black vote motivated, you've got to come up with a story. And the story needs actors and it needs scenes. And Trayvon Martin is a scene and an actor. A 13-year-old boy just going down to the 7-Eleven to buy Skittles is murdered in cold blood by this white Hispanic who's gun-owning nut who just decided to just pop him off as he's just walking home, just a normal little black kid, with his books in his backpack. He's walking home. He's assassinated by this, Zimmerman. He's got to be a white guy. Turns out he's not. So he's a white Hispanic. So there's a narrative for you. See how bad things are? One case? Well, it turns out that the one case is not even the case. He's not a little kid, the little 13-year-old boy that was on the cover of People magazine. He was 17, 18. He was damn near 6 feet. He's a huge guy. He was on Facebook all the time talking about, just dropping F-bombs and talking about getting the ingredients to make this lean, this kind of a street narcotic. And Zimmerman had all these defensive wounds on his head where he's, being bashed against the sidewalk. It just didn't happen the way that they said it happened. And the same thing with Michael Brown, and the same thing again and again and again. Every time we get more evidence on one of these so-called, police assassinations, the police assassinating black people, every time we get more evidence, every hour that goes by and more evidence comes in, seems to be more exculpatory every single time. In other words, if you listen to the first stories on Trayvon Martin, it sounds, my God, what a horrible injustice. And then you start to learn more and more and more about the situation. Turns out it's not an injustice. And the same thing with Michael Brown, and the same thing with virtually all of these cases. When I saw the shooting of, I don't remember the names, that teenage kid, was unarmed and shot by the police, I thought, and the outrage being ginned up over it, I said, oh God, this is going to be bad. I'm going to watch this thing, and it's going to, it's just bad things happen. And I'm watching this, and I simply can't believe my eyes. And I can't believe my eyes because I couldn't understand what the fuss is about. You've got a guy who's advancing on police officers with a gun, with his hand behind his back. And the police didn't just, walk up to the car, sir, can I see? You know what? I don't like you. Bang, 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 bang. This guy gets out of the car and advances on police officers with his hand behind his back. And these cops are screaming at him, saying, don't come any closer. Stop right there. I'll shoot you if you get closer. And they back up and they back up and they back up. You just simply, it's so justified. What would you expect? And this idea of white privilege, the kid was white. Does Black Lives Matter actually think that if a policeman pulls me over for a traffic ticket and he sees me fumbling around with something, he asks me to step out of the car, and I advance on him, and he's got back up there, and I just keep coming at them with my hand behind my back, and he says, stop or we'll shoot, and I keep going. He says, stop or we'll shoot, and I keep going. He says, sir, stop now, sir, or I'm going to have to shoot you. And then I start pulling my hand around, and do you think they're not going to shoot me because I'm white? No. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. There are just two different colors. There are good people and bad people. It's pretty much it. There are good people and bad people. The people most people are good because they're just passively good. They don't go out and do good, but they don't hurt anybody and their lives are fine. This is the difference we need to be looking at. This is the division in America we need to be looking at. There are good people and there are bad people. Well, that's just your perspective. No, it's not my perspective. It's not my perspective. It's a universal trait. There are some things we can agree on universally. If one person murders another person, that's a bad person. And it doesn't matter who's doing the murdering and who's being murdered. Somebody kills somebody else in cold blood, that is a bad person. And those people need to be dealt with. Because if we don't deal with them, then they're going to just continue to prey on us, and I don't want to be preyed upon. That's why we have the police out there, the sheepdogs, to protect us. Same for the military. So, it's not black versus white. It should be good people versus bad people. I had a spot check for whether you're a racist or not. And it's really true. I used to watch Cops a lot. I love that show. I loved it especially because I'd love to see people lying through their teeth. You watch them on camera do this thing. I have no idea where that came from. In any event, here's my pocket racism test. Whether you're a racist who believes, black people are bad, or whether you're a person who believes in this good people, bad people thing. If you're watching Cops and you watch a white cop take down a black offender and you go, yeah. And then on the next episode, you watch a black cop take down a white offender and you go, boo, you're a racist. But if in the second episode you see a black cop take down the white offender and you go, yeah, then you're not. You're on the side of law enforcement. You're a good person against the bad people. And that's how I feel when I watch Cops. I always sympathize with the police over these people that have committed crimes. Always. And if it's a black officer pulling over a white guy for something petty or something serious, or is chasing him down the street for first-degree murder, whatever, I'm on the side of the guy with the uniform because I've seen the crime happen in front of my eyes, or I'm going to see the results of it when I'm done. Otherwise, it's not on the show. So it really is good people versus bad people. And if you watch Cops, whose side are you on? If you're on the side of law enforcement, then you're on the side of good guys. Now, with all of that said, there is no question at all that there are a number of policemen out there who are, in fact, not fit to be policemen under any circumstances. I've seen video recently of this policeman in a park, and I heard, oh, this guy's taunting these people. I said he probably just asked him to move along or something. No, this guy has a real psychological problem. This policeman was basically virtually kicking them and pushing them, basically saying, just daring them. And when they tried to get up and walk away, then he's, you're fleeing the scene of an arrest or something like that. No, this police officer was a bad egg, and he needs to get pulled. And I think that since we give police officers so much authority and responsibility, they need to be held to a higher standard. If we together as a society decide to give, Mr. Jones a gun and a badge to protect him, which means that he can use that gun and kill people under color of law and not pay a price for it. If we're willing to do that, and we have to be willing to do that, then in that case, if Mr. Brown turns out uses that gun and that badge to commit a crime, then the penalty towards him has to be much stiffer. It just has to be stiffer. And that's justice if it's a stiffer thing. And one of the many things of this giant Gordian knot of problems that we have is that the police stick together. And I understand that from the outside. I can understand how if you're getting shot at all day or being beat up all day and somebody's literally trying to kill you and your partner is there and he saved your life on any number of occasions, you've saved his, and you eat with his kids and families. I get all of that, I do. But if you're protecting a bad cop, you are endangering your own life. You're endangering his life, you're endangering the life of his family and your family, and you're endangering the lives of the people that are going to come in contact with him, because if this is a bad cop and you don't get him out, then you're complicit in the aftermath. There's just lighten this up just a tiny little bit. On my Facebook page is a picture of me playing baseball when I was 10 years old, and I got started on Key Biscayne Little League, and I played a little bit of Little League in Bermuda. And I got to Key Biscayne, and they had enough kids for 6 teams, and in the very advanced period of the time, which would have been about 1971, I want to say, 71, 72. There were 6 teams, and they were colors. We had a dyed T-shirt, and we had a dyed baseball cap. So there was maroon and scarlet red and emerald green, navy blue, royal blue, and maybe one other. I forget what it is. And in any event, so I show up for Little League, and I get assigned to Scarlet. And Scarlet is being coached by 2 brothers named the Palmetter brothers. And these guys would do something like this. We're talking about 10-year-old, 11-year-old kids. they would basically say, all right, we're going to do sliding practice now. Okay. So line up at third base. Yep. Come in and slide to home plate. Yep. And I'm going to swing this baseball bat. And I'm going to swing it 4 feet off the ground. And if you don't get underneath that bat, you're going to get hit in the face. It's like, this guy's a psychotic. He's a psycho. They were sadists. And it turned out many years later, that one of these brothers was listed as one of the deadliest cops in Miami. That 8 out of 10 years he was written up either first or second for police brutality violations, or the number of false arrests, or even unjust shootings. He's just a problem. This is the thing that's almost impossible for me to understand, because in that sense it's very similar to malpractice. My understanding is that something like half or maybe even 2/3 of all medical malpractice suits are brought against the same 2% of doctors, 3% of doctors. These guys are not doctors. They're frauds. And these bad doctors, by being allowed to continue to practice medicine, means all the good doctors have to pay this outrageous fee for legal protection for malpractice suits. It's just nuts. You got to get the bad eggs out of the sack here. And that's, I think, one of the things I admire most about this movement, this modern American conservative movement. If we see somebody who's an actual racist, a real racist, we'll just chuck him out. No. As you probably know, was a member of an organization out here for conservatives in Hollywood, and one of those people, one of the 1,800 or something that we had, turned out was a major Holocaust denial guy. He didn't join under his real name. He had a lot of material and publications out there saying this whole thing was not true, and the organization just dropped him immediately. Dropped him. Goodbye. That's what happens when you're an honest organization, and that's why the president can't get rid of these Black Lives Matter thugs, because he created them and he needs them.